It's time for Morning Soulshine with Bridget, a podcast where we interview people who express their stories of triumph. I'm your host, certified life and mindset coach, Bridget Gibson. On this episode, we welcome Lauren Greco. Lauren is a certified personal trainer as well as a nutrition coach. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you, Bridget.
We're so happy to have Lauren with us. And this month is the month of October, and it's Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And Lauren has been a guest of ours. Actually, she's a co-host of mine, and she's been with us on several interviews and episodes. And on today, we're going to talk about domestic violence. And earlier today, Lauren and I were speaking because I had invited her to come on to give some tips about nutrition and taking good care of ourselves, while we go through stressful times. And she's going to do that with us. But she also has a story that she would like to share with us. So, Lauren, can you share that story with us?
Well, I guess my story really is just about, I've been in quite a few abusive relationships. They were not just physically abusive, but there's a lot of verbal abuse, mental abuse, emotional abuse as well. So during the times that I was involved in these relationships, I didn't really understand or realize that I was in an actual abusive relationship. And that stems from the reason that I didn't understand all of that is because of the toxic environment that I grew up in. So like seeing the way that my stepdad was with my mom, and then just the overall abuse that I went through as a child, being neglected, not taken care of, physically abused by my stepdad, I carried that on into my adult life. So I wasn't able to recognize the toxic traits of these individuals, or that the situation itself was really toxic, because to me it was normal. I had been neglected and mistreated as a child, so it made sense to me to be mistreated and neglected as an adult by partners. And it hasn't really been that long since I have started to realize that I really am a survivor of domestic violence. And also I've had to deal with some sexual abuse too, as an adult and also as a child. So yeah, I'm just in this place of acknowledging where I've been and everything I've made it through. And it just gives me more reason to continue striving to do better for myself and to set boundaries with people, and not allow people to cross my boundaries, because I didn't understand what boundaries were or that I even needed any. And that's one of the reasons that I feel that I went through some of the relationships or friendships that I've had with people that were abusive, because I just didn't understand boundaries. So as I've gotten older and as I've started to realize some things, I'm getting stronger and more confident with setting boundaries with other people. And I'm also being more mindful of who I allow in my space, not just with friends, but also potential partners too. So, yeah.
Well, Lauren, we really appreciate you sharing that with us. When we look at your pictures, we look at a very, very strong woman on the outside, and I've gotten to know you as a strong woman as well on the inside. So what, the transitions you've gone through in your life, can you help someone out there right now understand, the different phases or stages in your life where you've seen that you were making different, moves and you were growing? Can you share that with us?
Well, I would have to I would kind of go back to when I got my first apartment on my own, because up until I would say mid-20s. If I wasn't living with my mom, I was staying with either a boyfriend or friends, And so very, like, my life was very unstable. My home life was, like, I was at the mercy of other people. But as I started to recognize some of my own poor behaviors and choices, and I started making better choices, my life overall started to improve. So I went from living with a person to actually being able to get my first place. And it wasn't much, but it was my place. And it felt amazing to be able to have keys that belong to my own apartment versus having to, borrow someone's keys to their house. Yeah. And that was in my 20s. I'm 41 now. And when I look at like where I started, like my first place, and then I got my next apartment, and that apartment was better than the first one. And when I look at my jobs, how each one was like a stepping stone to a better job that offered me more money, and it offered me a chance to, move up. And so I guess like I just look at my life as a whole, and I look at the growth, and it's taken a really long time to get to where I'm at, and I'm not done growing by any means, but like it's little changes. It's like, if you want better for yourself, you have to really look at the choices that you're making and then start making different ones. Start looking at where you can clean up things, where you could do better, where you can make improvements, and over time, as you continue to strive for better, it's those little changes over time that end in like big results, Mm-hmm. So I think like if you're wanting more for yourself, you have to really take a hard look at your choices and how you're living your life, and then use that as a starting point, to get to the next place and so on, because life is all about levels, and lessons.
And right now you're speaking to someone who may be going through domestic violence in the home and really don't see a way out and don't know where to begin. And you have just transformed your life. You made a move just this year where you moved away from, a place that you've known for a very long time and moved to a place that you had never been. And I see how you are succeeding. You have your own company right now, and I'm just so proud of you. Thank you. Tell us about your company, because somebody needs to be encouraged today.
Well, my company, I'm a personal trainer and nutrition coach, as you mentioned, but I really I'm wanting to get into more in-home personal training and online coaching. But my goal ultimately is to not sell some package that promises a bunch of weight loss and drastic results. Like, it's more of like I sell a program that really helps a person look at their choices and start replacing some of their choices with new ones, and really learning how to better take care of yourself, because it doesn't matter what diet you go on or how much money you spend on the next big, diet plan or workout program. Like, if you don't correct the issue, it doesn't matter what you do. It's never going to go away. So like, if you struggle with like, we'll just use, like struggle with weight. Well, your weight comes from what you're eating and what you're doing physically, so it's like you have to start looking at the choices you're making when it involves like your nutrition and also like your physical activity. And there's a lot of reasons why people turn to food and why people don't focus on themselves, especially like if you're in a toxic relationship. That tends to take so much of your energy, especially with depression, anxiety, stress, all of those emotions, all of that stuff that is involved with being involved in a domestic abuse relationship. Like, so you can't expect like big changes, but if you can just make small ones, reach out to someone, I know there's hotlines, right? There's
Yes,
websites,
there is.
hotlines.
Yeah, we're going to give that phone number is actually 1-800-799-7233, and that's to the National DV Hotline.
Right. Great. Yeah. So like they could call, they could do some research on their own, start looking up some stuff on the internet, like, we all have access to that. Reaching out to you, reaching out to me. It's finding where you're at and then seeing what's the next step that you can make,
And Lauren, the more I've been interviewing survivors of domestic violence, I find that a lot of the interviews, they didn't realize they were in a domestic violence situation because they were raised in an environment that allowed abuse.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Such
just
as myself.
it was just part of life. So, I'm just so proud of you for the success that you have and that you're having. And I also want you to speak to the person who's going through domestic violence right now, and just encourage them that if you can make it, they can make it too. Can you do that for us?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you have to want it. You have to want it. I have a friend of mine, and she's been married for 36 years. And it's an abusive marriage. Not so much, it's not really physical anymore, but it's all the other stuff. There's so many different ways a person can be abusive, and she's losing her life. Her life is passing her by because she's so scared to make a jump. It's like a bird in a cage, but the door is open. Like she just has to go through the door, but she's afraid to, and so being in these domestic violence relationships, feeling stuck, you have to want it, and you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to change, to make a change, to get out of it. Like I was homeless at one time, and didn't have anyone around me, didn't have any money, didn't know what I was going to do, but I know I wanted something more. I wanted something better for myself. And little bit by little bit over time, I was able to pick the pieces up, but I had to reach out. And luckily there were some people around that were able to help me to an extent. And so I used whatever resources I could, and I just stuck to a plan. But it all boils down to you have to be willing to do whatever it takes. And sometimes people tend to stay in situations because they feel like, well, even though it's a bad situation, it's easier to stay than it is to leave. But you can't let the fear of unknowns keep you from leaving a bad situation.
So, Lauren, do you think if someone right now, they don't have the courage to leave, you think with the exercise and eating better, you think that can help them grow into the person that they should be?
Any type of love you can give to yourself is going to be beneficial. The more care you give to yourself, not just your body, but your mind and your soul, the more care and the more love and the more compassion that you give and show to yourself, the better your chances are of creating a life that you want. But you have to be good to you. You have to start taking care of you. And it's little things. It's being mindful of how you speak, being mindful of your thoughts, being mindful of the food that you eat, being mindful of the things that you watch on television, the music that you listen to, being mindful of your schedule, paying attention to how much sleep you're getting. Are you caring for yourself? When we start taking better care of ourselves, it's amazing how much better we're able to feel and how much better we're able to think, how much clearer our minds are. So any type of love you can show for yourself is better than no love.
Well, this has been a wonderful, wonderful interview, and we really appreciate you taking your time to spend with us this morning and just giving us all these great nuggets on how to take care of ourselves and how to love ourselves, and also sharing your story. That was a lot for you to share with us, but you did that because, you have such a great heart and you want to see people grow. And I really appreciate you, Lauren. Is there anything else you would like to say?
I just thank you for giving me the opportunity to be here and to be part of this amazing thing that you've got going on. It's really awesome. So
well, we love you.
Thank you.
We love you, and you're my co-host, and I know you're over there building an empire, and I'm so proud of you, but you're welcome back anytime. And I
Thank
love
you so much. I love you, girl.
I love you too. And this has been Bridget with Morning Soulshine, and we will talk to you on next week. Thank you.